How are you, sir?
Maz, I'm good. How are you?
Not bad. Can we start with a proud dad moment? When we chatted with you a couple of weeks ago, you were at your son's high school football game, quarterback, correct? A little update. How are we doing? What's the team record? And are we playing tonight or are we playing this weekend?
We're playing tonight. When we did this 2 weeks ago, it was his first varsity start, and he played really well. Unfortunately, late in the third quarter, he injured his foot, so he didn't play last week, but is back playing tonight. And next week we've got a game where we're the top two ranked teams in the state in our classification. So everything's kind of geared towards that to get him ready for that one, because it's going to be a lot of fun. But tonight should be fun too. When I'm done here, I'm going to get into a car, drive about 90 minutes to where his game's going to be, and I can't wait to watch it. Friday night football is a lot of fun.
What's the name of the school and the team name?
Well, he plays at Linden High School in Washington State, and the Linden Lions, and they play Marysville something tonight down in Marysville, which is about 90 minutes away from us.
Okay, so the Linden Lions. All right, we're all Linden Lions fan. We're all with you.
They're green. It looks exactly like your framing. It's perfect. Looks like a rider.
Nice. The Buffalo Bills beatdown of the Miami Dolphins wasn't as bad as everybody in the sports world was predicting last night. Did Mike McCarthy do enough to keep his job for another week? Mike McDaniel, pardon me.
Well, I mean, I think if they were going to make a move, they would have made it today, and they haven't yet. You've got a long week, which is a good time to make a move. You've also got a really, really soft schedule, which is a good time to make a move as well, because the new coach could potentially, get things up and running, maybe get some momentum. But they did a lot of good things, right? It came down to two plays for them. At the end of the day, right? Mm-hmm. You get the block punt, and at a critical time, and that's what losing teams do, right? They make those plays in those moments. That's what losing teams do. And then Tua Tagovailoa, who I've wanted to believe in for so long, and I just find it harder and harder every game, every season. If you were talking about my son, if he makes that kind of pass in a high school game, I would be pissed that he stared down the receiver like that and let the linebacker get underneath it. Like, that is a high school poor play, right? And then he changed his arm angle a bit because there was some pass rush pressure. You can't do that. And two plays cost you a football game, right? And they did so many other things well. But listening to McDaniel after the game, remember when Mike McDaniel was kind of this quirky genius, right? Now yes. He is awkward, uncomfortable, does not sound like a guy that should be leading a locker room of men. No. Just listening to him now, it's not clever. It's not cute. There's nothing redeeming about it. It's a guy that's lost every level of mojo possible. So this just feels like, if the way he comes across in that setting is remotely how he comes across in a locker room, I think we're just killing time here, because it sure feels like dead man walking.
On the Tua Tagovailoa front last night, it was tough. They threw the ball 34 times, and 34 times for 146 yards. Ooh. And okay, now it's September. It was 85 degrees. If it was January and the wind was blowing and the snow was coming in, 146 yards, okay. But on the flip side, and this is where Bills fans, be cautious, because everybody has anointed you Super Bowl-esque. But at times last night, the Dolphins gave you fits. There's still times where your defense looks very susceptible. I mean, you saw it in the Baltimore game. Stopping the run, stopping the pass. To me, Miami played really well at times. And the Bills just don't at times on defense.
Yeah, you're right. They're one of the worst third down defending teams in the league, right? And even offensively, there were some fits and spurts where Miami was able to generate consecutive stops, and you just don't think a team that in shambles, especially on the defensive side of the ball, should be able to do that against an offense as prolific as Buffalo's. So, I'm still not fully buying Buffalo quite yet. I want to see more, but I'm always going to buy Josh Allen. But on the other side of the ball, right, Miami looked good at times in a lot of different areas, but at critical times in the game, this is when their true character shows up. And I don't know that it's going to get any better, but as I mentioned earlier, they've got a soft schedule coming up for the next 5 games. So if it's going to get better, this is the time.
Out of all the teams that will be missing their starting quarterback this weekend, Cincinnati, Minnesota, New York, San Francisco, and Washington, who's at the biggest disadvantage without their starter?
Washington. I'm such a big Jaden Daniels fan, and I think that he is, I think he's an elite player. He makes that team entirely different, and I think there's a big drop off to Marcus Mariota, and you've always got to look at that, right? Like, what is the drop off? If you're Minnesota, J.J. McCarthy for 7 of 8 quarters this year hasn't been great, right? And Carson Wentz has been so erratic in the back half of his career thus far. We'll see what we're going to get, but he does have the ability to win games. And the thing with Minnesota is they've got the best offensive coordinator in football in Kevin O'Connell. So if anybody can get everything out of Carson Wentz, it's probably him. But like, I look at Washington and they were so dependent on Daniels, and it hasn't looked great for them so far in the early going this season, but I'd bet on that kid. He just has the ability to make them better. So I think there's going to be a drop off there.
I think on the Cincinnati Bengal front, and I like Joe Burrow, but I feel like they're wasting his best years. He's going to be out.
He's the guy that's getting hurt all the time. He's the guy that's getting hurt all the time. And their offensive line is built, right? Like it's their defense where the holes are. And as good as Joe Burrow is, Jake Browning has shown an ability to tread water when he's had to play, right? Like he can be a 500 or better quarterback for whatever the 3 months are that he's got to play. But again, you've got a really challenging defense. So you are right. They are wasting years of his prime. People have said that to me about Justin Herbert. And I just feel that Herbert has always left you kind of wanting in big moments himself, even though he looks good right now. But you have to start wondering about Joe Burrow. This guy's such an elite talent, but are we at the point in the conversation where we have to look at Joe Burrow and say he's injury prone?
Justin Fields and Tyron Taylor. To me, it doesn't matter. Are you really gaining or losing anything between the two of those with the Jets?
Yeah, it's minimal. I mean, Fields has had some moments, but no one's really going to bet on him. And Tyrod Taylor's played a lot of football, and I think this team's got problems whether Justin Fields is the quarterback or not, right? I mean, he was kind of everybody's consolation prize last year during the offseason, both he and Russell Wilson, quite frankly. Both are New York quarterbacks. So, I'd have to think Justin Fields is really, really good in order for me to say the Jets are having the biggest loss at the position.
Do you think the Cleveland Browns can score 6 points on Sunday against that Green Bay defense?
Yeah, I think they can get 6, maybe a pick 6. Maybe do it that way.
Oh, okay. All right, sure.
No, I do think they can get 6, but I think it's a pretty safe bet. They're not going to find a way to win.
No, that's for sure. I don't know what it is, but Mike McVay and Matthew Stafford going to Philly to take on the Eagles. If there's one team that I think can beat the Eagles at home, it's the Rams, and it's for whatever reason. And the Eagles play, I hate the tush push. It's just not like, but I think the Rams can come in there and maybe work a little magic.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, when you go back to the NFC title game last year, even in conditions that totally favored Philadelphia, the Rams were right there until the end. McVay's an exceptional coach. He's really sharp. I think if anybody can find a way, he can. And Philadelphia can't keep winning games this way offensively. Like, this is just not sustainable. They've got to find ways to get more out of the passing game. I know Jalen Hurts is going to say the right things. He's the consummate teammate. His ego is out of it. He's an impossible guy to dislike. But they need more out of their passing game. A.J. Brown can't be sitting there at 4 targets or, wherever he's at. And Devontae Smith being that quiet and then getting banged up. And they've got to generate a little more there. Otherwise, it then eventually becomes easier to take on Saquon. It's a long season, right? So all these teams have a lot of time right now to figure it out. I don't think any team, whether you're Philadelphia or Kansas City or whoever, no one should push the panic button at any phase of their game, in my opinion. If you've proven that you can win. I mean, if you're a team that just loses all the time and you find ways to lose, that's different. But I'm not pushing the panic button on Philly, but there's an area that's obvious they need to improve. And if they don't, I think the Rams and Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford can outscore them.
A lot of Charger fans making noise online, being 2-0. Their track record for winning Super Bowls, when questioned about, quiets the conversation. The Chargers are a nice story, but I like Denver in LA on Sunday. Can you go against what the Broncos are doing? They're just playing good football these days.
Well, yes and no, right? I think Bo Nix has had a bit of regression, right? When you look at his numbers, his efficiency and just his productivity this year is not the same as it was last year. And I'm a Bo Nix guy. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback in this league. He showed what he could be last year, and I think he'll get there. But right now, he hasn't been great. And I'm not a Jim Harbaugh guy, but I do believe he's getting the most out of that team right now. And I think Herbert's playing really well. So, I'm not going to sit here and give either team a huge decided advantage because I do think Denver is closer to what we saw last year than what we're seeing this year. But they've got to get better. I mean, Nix has got to see the field a bit better. He's got to keep the ball out of harm's way. I don't think he's been nearly as effective in those areas as he was a year ago.
If the Cowboys beat the Bears, Dallas is 2-1, which I love. But the Bears are 0-3. Ben Johnson, big offseason signing, called out his team, says he needs more work ethic. Is it just the same old Bears? It's starting to feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to take some time, and ultimately this is going to come down to Caleb Williams, right? And where he's able to take his game and whether or not he's able to deal with adversity, to be mature and to show a level of growth. And I think that's the question, right? Because people have questioned his maturity. They've questioned his body language and all these other types of things. And then you've got a really bad offensive line on top of that. So while the receiving core, I think, has some solid pieces and has the ability to excel, there's some questions in the backfield and there's some questions along the offensive line. And, in the end, it might prove to be the benefit towards one of our Canadians and Theo Benedette, who eventually may take over that left tackle spot at some point this year because Braxton Jones isn't really getting it done. And, his production at that left tackle spot hasn't been good. And that was a big question mark coming into the season for them. So they've got to get better. I like Ben Johnson as a coach. It's his first year. You've got to give him some time. But so much of it is that quarterback-coach relationship. And I'm not saying they don't get along, but I don't know that he has pushed the right buttons with Caleb Williams yet.
If the Kansas City Chiefs lose to the New York Giants in Sunday Night Football, Kansas City would be 0-3. They've never been 0-2 with Patrick Mahomes, but 0-3 would be really unfamiliar territory. Is it a Aaron Rodgers situation from a few years ago? Just relax, everything's going to be fine. Or if an 0-3 start for the Chiefs, is that real concern?
You can make the case for the opponents they've lost to this point, right, with the Chargers and the Eagles. You cannot make a case for them losing to the New York Giants. Like, that's just not acceptable, in my opinion. Now, look, I tend to always, I am never going to doubt Patrick Mahomes. So even if they go to 0-3, I'll come on this show next week and say relax. But my eyebrows are going to raise if they can't find a way to beat the Giants. That is not a good football team, and there is no way. I mean, are there some holes in Kansas City's lineup on their roster? Sure, especially with what's going on at receiver. But there is more than enough there, and now more than enough motivation there. And, with Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo and the acumen that they've got, they have to find a way to beat the lowly New York Giants.
Russ was cooking last week against the Cowboys. Do you see those deep balls he was throwing? That was nuts. I know, but
he was good. It was a throwback vintage performance, which is why it's such a waste that the Giants found a way to lose that game. Because Russ isn't going to do that on multiple weeks, right? Like, that's not who he is at this stage of his career. That's a bad Dallas secondary, a questionable Dallas defense all the way along where they've got holes. So I don't think that's going to happen when you're facing Chris Jones and Trent McDuffie and some of the other pieces on Kansas City's defense. He cannot put up a 400-yard performance against Kansas City.
As we switch to the CFL, Farhan, a lot of us Rider fans, the only way we're going to be able to rationalize losing to Montreal last week is if Montreal goes into Toronto tonight and blows the doors off. Then it wasn't a fluke. That's just a good football team on the rise playing good football.
Yeah, I don't think that justifies what Saskatchewan did last week because, remember, Jared Dayton is going to be Toronto's quarterback right now. Right? I know. Montreal is going to go in there and win the football game, right? McLeod, Ethel Thompson played well, but that matchup with Exume and Philpott was like taking candy from a baby, right? The fact that that was the option that Saskatchewan rolled out there, and Jason Moss just looked at that and said, "Yeah, I'm going to go there, and I'm going to go there again, and I'm going to go there again." And made a lot of money for Philpott. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, when Saskatchewan's healthy in the back end, they're not going to play like that on a regular basis. But Montreal's going to go in tonight, and they'll beat Toronto, but not because they're a great football team, but because of who Toronto's going to be playing at quarterback. So I fully expect Montreal to win 2 in a row here and steady the ship. And then you may get Davis Alexander back in the next 2 weeks.
Last year, the biggest storyline in the CFL was Vernon Adams Jr. and Nathan Rourke in BC. Tonight, it's the first time they'll face each other in the regular season. VA for the Stamps, Rourke for the Lions. VA is the ultimate professional. You're never going to hear a word from him, but you have to know this is personal to the core, and a win tonight would mean everything to him. And I hope his teammates realize that too, of who he is and all of that. But it's easy to say something. It's a little harder to go on the deal. To me, this is the game of the weekend.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. I fully expect Calgary to win. VA will be motivated, but the one thing with VA is VA's not selfish, and he never has been. He's very motivated by winning, and yeah, he wants to put up numbers. The last 2 weeks, they haven't been as smooth offensively. No. There's no doubt, and really on both sides of the ball. But now they're healthy, right? They've got everybody but Flo Rimolade back. Their offensive line will be healthy. Adrian Green at the corner, Jalen Hutchings at defensive tackle. They're going to have all those pieces there. And meanwhile, BC, no James Butler, no Broxton at left tackle, who for my money has been as good a tackle as there's been in the league this year, and no Javon Catoy. So there's a drop off in all those replacements. So as good as Nathan has been, I think he's going to struggle to win a shootout, which you might have to, given how BC's defense has been of late. So I think Vernon's going to find a way to win, but I also think Vernon's not going to make it about him. And the guys will rally around him, but other than Dom Rhymes, it's not like a big group of those guys that dealt with what VA dealt with. And the other thing with VA is he actually really likes everybody in BC, right? He likes Nathan Rourke, he likes Justin McInnes, he likes Keon Hatcher, and it's not the same coaching staff as it was a year ago, right? So he won't make it personal, but VA for his own sanity right now, he wants to play better than he has the last 2 weeks. He wants to find his groove again.
I agree. The past couple of weeks, that's not the VA that we've seen. Earlier in the week, Mike O'Shea did his best in the press to talk up Chris Streveler, who will be the starting quarterback in Ottawa tomorrow against Dru Brown as they take on the Redblacks. For me, this is must-win territory for the Bombers if they're going to keep pace for third place in the West, maybe a crossover. Streveler, Dru Brown, Redblacks, who hasn't played but seems to get injured. Like this one's a bit of a murky mystery.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so quarterback-centric when it comes to my evaluation on these games, and I just don't think that Chris Streveler is a legitimate long-term answer at the quarterback position for any team. I'm not saying he's not an effective football player because he has the ability to run and do different things. And much like I talked about VA, Chris Streveler is not going to make it about him. He's very much about the team. But I just think there's going to be so many limitations in the pass game for Winnipeg. I just see Ottawa winning this game. And it's going to be must-win for Ottawa, right? Like they haven't lost belief that they still have a shot to get into the playoffs. And is it must win for Winnipeg, especially if BC loses tonight? Right? Like they're right there with the Lions again. So I'm not sure there's necessarily that level of panic, but and I thought we would see Zach Caleros this game. So, so unfortunately for the Bombers, he's not ready to go. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later. Dustin Crum has played very well for Ottawa. So can Dru Brown bring more to the table than Dustin Crum has the last couple of weeks? He's going to face a better defense than what Crum did in the 2 games against the Lions. But I'm going to take Dustin Crum over Chris Streveler anytime. And, Winnipeg's been good on defense, but they've been inconsistent there too. So I think Dru Brown, I should say, is still going to have every opportunity to put up some points in this game.
To me, the Edmonton Eskimos are the most improved team in the CFL over the past 6 weeks. They're playing complete football, their run game, their return game. Cody's doing just enough. The defense, you can see some of the stars coming out. And Hamilton, to me, is not trustworthy. Now, they are at home, so I will give them that. But if Edmonton can play the scrappy football they're playing, I can't see why they can't go in and steal one at the nameless Tim Hortons, not Ivor Wynn Stadium.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think they're right there. Hamilton has not been the same team offensively that we saw in the first 6-7 weeks of the season. They've regressed a little bit. Kenny Lawler hasn't taken games over. It just isn't operating as smoothly as it once did. I totally agree with you, Maz. I think Edmonton can go in there. They are the most improved team in the league. They're slowly getting some pieces back. Jared Brinkman's coming back this week, and I think Nick Anderson is close. So they're slowly making their way back to full health on that side of the ball. And I like what Cody's been doing, right? So I absolutely think he can find a way to go in there and win this game. I'm picking Hamilton to win, but it's a 5.5 point spread, so I've got Edmonton covering.
All right. We'll let you get to dad duties, and it's the Linden Lions, correct? Is that it? That's our team we're cheering for?
There you go, the Linden Lions. Keep an eye on it.
All right, we're all Linden Lion fans tonight here on the Sports Cage. All right. Have a great weekend. We'll catch up with you next week. That's Farhan Lalji from TSN, who joins us every week.